So if you think of the companies as venture capitalists, I was giving a talk at Harvard Business School once, and the guy actually was questioning why we didn't pursue a certain business model, why we charge so much for CDs. I said, I'll put it in terms you understand, we're venture capitalists. And I'll give you an example. If the A&R people in a label, Epic and Columbia were the two labels that some years ago I worked most closely with. Somebody comes to Columbia Records, and in the old days they usually sent a demo tape or a CDR. And let's say the A&R people, the junior staff, have narrowed it down to like 100 bands that they're considering, 100 artists, 100 bands that they're considering signing this season. Well, there's not enough money to sign 100 bands. When we start thinking about giving them advances and shooting videos and stuff. So maybe there's enough for 20. A medium-sized label would sign 20 major acts. Well, we know from experience that if you sign and release albums from 20 artists, new artists, that on average about 17 of those will lose money. Probably 2 or 3 will break even, and 1 will make a significant amount of money. This is a general rule. So 1 out of 20 has to pay for all the money you lost on the other 17. And I actually once had a guy, again, it was at Harvard, I'm embarrassed to say, Harvard Business School, who said, well, why don't you just sign hit acts? And I asked him, well, why don't you just bet on winning horses at the track and drop out of HBS? And the other students thought it was funny. So that gives you some idea of the money that needs to be brought in to keep the business going. And again, this is changing too. The way that we discover and release acts has changed with the advent of the internet, especially in the past, I would say, 3 years. But the basic economics have not changed. You need to make enough money on that 1 or 2 bands that hit to cover all your losses. And all the returns, you know, if you're manufacturing CDs, all the returns that come back, again, from digital image, that there are other costs associated with their different. And so that gives you some idea of how the music companies work and what they do. It is not their job to exploit the poor artists. In fact, those 17 artists that lost money all got advances. So in a way, they screwed the record company because they got money in advance for making a record that nobody bought. Does that make you feel any better if there's somebody out there screwing the record company? Go ahead.
Yeah, but aren't they in debt after receiving the advance? They have to make up those sales somehow anyway at some point.
No, we're assuming now, when I say 17 that lose money, that those are artists that we give up on. So we go through the process of recording, shooting a video, radio promotion, marketing, subsidizing a tour for the artist, and they go out and these are bands that the best A&R people money can buy think are going to hit. It's like the expert at the track has picked the most likely winning horses, and sometimes they will fail miserably. The projection is that they will sell 150,000 CDs in the first 6 months, and they sell 6,000. So it is complete wash. You wash your hands, you walk away. The band that got $100,000 advance got $100,000. You will never see that money. You have to wait for somebody like Beyonce to come along to sell a couple of million to get the money to cover all the money that you lost with those artists. That's how the industry works. Is that? Okay, that's good. So yeah, they're not in debt. There is the idea of recouping, and but as a general rule, in the old days, the record companies had more money. They were not on the verge of bankruptcy like some of ours. You may have read about EMI, for example. They had 2 profit warnings in the past couple of months. They're the only fully public major record label group out there right now. And in those cases, they may have hung on. Pete Yorn or Springsteen or Dylan or any of these people did not make money on the first album. The companies believed in them. Columbia Records believed in those cases. I think I'll forget believed in them, and kept releasing until they hoped they would have a hit, until they died. And then once an artist is established, their catalog begins to sell in many cases. So Springsteen, fifth album, I think it was, probably before the fifth album, by the time he started to sell significant numbers. But at that point, his catalog started to sell. And at that point, depending on the structure of his contract, the company was recouping the advances on those earlier albums. But there's never a case where the artist ends up owing money or ends up in debt to the record company as a standard, as a general practice.